The Council's emergency meeting. Her room was silent. The air felt heavy with tension. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, usually a place of calm discussions, was now filled with unease. High-ranking officials from different alien species sat in a massive circular chamber, their eyes fixed on the holographic screen in the center. The Supreme Chancellor of the Council, an elder being with deep blue skin and piercing golden eyes, stood up slowly. His voice, though calm, carried a weight that made everyone uneasy. "We have a problem," he said. "A very serious problem." A murmur spread through the hall. The Galactic Council was the most powerful ruling body in the universe. It had existed for thousands of years, controlling peace and order among hundreds of civilizations. If something was serious enough to bring fear to this room, then it had to be something truly terrible. A high-ranking general, a reptilian creature with dark green scales, leaned forward. "What kind of problem, Chancellor?" His voice was sharp and impatient. "Has the Dominion broken the peace treaty, or is it the Krell pirates again?" The Chancellor shook his head. "No, it is far worse." He gestured towards the holographic screen. "Play the transmission." The lights in the chamber dimmed as the hologram flickered to life. A grainy recording appeared, showing a distant blue planet, small but strangely familiar. The recording zoomed in, revealing Earth. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some aliens leaned forward in disbelief. Others exchanged nervous glances. The Chancellor let the image linger before speaking again. "This planet should not exist." His voice was grim. "We all believed it was gone. We were wrong." A tall insectoid alien, with shimmering black eyes, clicked its mandibles. "Impossible. The records state that Earth was abandoned. The humans, they were wiped out centuries ago." The Chancellor nodded. "Yes, that is what we thought. That is what we wanted to believe." He took a deep breath. "But humans are still alive." The room erupted into chaos. Voices overlapped, some filled with shock, others with fear. They survived. How? They had no allies. This cannot be true. The Chancellor raised his hand, and the room fell silent again. He turned to the lead intelligence officer, a pale, lanky alien with 4 eyes. "Tell them what we have learned," he ordered. The officer hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward. He adjusted his metallic robe and activated another part of the hologram. This time, the screen displayed a fleet of ships, human ships. They were sleek, dark, and unlike anything the Council had ever seen before. No longer were humans flying their outdated primitive vessels. These ships looked deadly. They carried advanced weaponry, energy shields, and unknown technology. The officer's voice was quiet but firm. "Not only have humans survived, they have evolved." The chamber fell into a stunned silence. "This is not possible," the blue-skinned alien whispered. "Humans were a weak species. They were barely holding on to their own planet when we last observed them." The officer shook his head. "That is what makes them dangerous. Humans adapt. They change. And they never, ever give up." A cold realization spread through the room. The last time the Council had encountered humans, they had been a struggling race, barely reaching the stars. But now they had become something else. A military commander with thick, armored skin crossed his arms. "We need to act. If humans have returned to space, we must ensure they do not threaten the balance of power." "Threaten?" A frail, bird-like alien scoffed. "Do not be foolish. They are a single species against an entire galaxy." The Chancellor turned toward the bird-like alien, his golden eyes narrowing. "Are you truly that naive?" His voice was cold. "Do you know what happened the last time humans were underestimated?" A heavy silence filled the chamber again. Everyone knew the story, the one that had been buried in history books, locked away in classified files. The Last Contact War. Back then, an alien empire had tried to conquer Earth. They believed humans were weak. They were wrong. The war should have lasted a month. Instead, it dragged on for years. Humans did not fight with brute force. They fought with intelligence, strategy, and a level of ruthlessness that terrified even the strongest alien warriors. The enemy empire no longer existed. It had been wiped from history. And now, the species responsible for that destruction had returned. The reptilian general bared his teeth. If they survived all this time, that means they have been preparing. We must act before it is too late. And do what? A calm voice asked. All eyes turned to an old alien diplomat, one of the council's wisest members. His green skin was wrinkled with age, and his eyes were filled with deep wisdom. Attack them. Push them away. What if they have changed? What if they no longer seek war? He asked. The room remained silent. The Chancellor spoke again, his voice filled with quiet dread. And what if they have not? No one had an answer. The hologram flickered off, but the fear in the room did not fade. The council had gathered here to discuss a problem, but deep down, they all knew the truth. This was not a problem. This was a warning. Humanity was back, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The forbidden records. The council chamber remained silent, but the weight in the air grew heavier. The revelation of Earth's survival was not just unexpected, it was terrifying. The Supreme Chancellor turned towards the Chief Historian, an elder alien with pale, almost translucent skin. He sat at the edge of the room, his hands folded, his long fingers twitching with unease. The Chancellor's voice was calm but firm. Bring out the forbidden records. Gasps filled the chamber. The forbidden records were not meant to be seen. They were hidden away, locked in the deepest vaults of the council archives. To even mention them was dangerous. The historian hesitated. His throat made a dry clicking sound. Are you certain, Chancellor? The Chancellor's golden eyes did not waver. Do it. With great reluctance, the historian activated his personal data device. A deep hum filled the air as a new hologram flickered to life. Unlike the clean, bright images shown before, these records were old, faded, and damaged. Some parts of the text were corrupted. Others were deliberately blacked out. But the title of the file was still clear. Classified ARCHIV-001. The last Galactic warrior. The reptilian general growled. So, the rumors were true. The historian cleared his throat and began reading from the ancient records. Over 300 years ago, the Galactic Dominion encountered an unknown species, humanity. The hologram changed, showing a primitive Earth fleet. The ships were bulky, slow, outdated by modern standards. They were technologically behind, inferior in every way. And yet, the image shifted. It now showed wreckage, alien wreckage. They adapted. The air in the room grew colder. The historian's voice was grim. The Dominion expected victory in days. Instead, the war lasted years. More images flashed by. Human warships burning in battle, only for new ones to take their place. Alien fleets overwhelmed, not by superior firepower, but by relentless strategy. The historian turned to face the council. Humans fought like no other species before them. They learned from every battle. They stole technology, improved it, turned it against their enemies. The next image sent chills down the spines of every alien in the room. It was a Dominion warship, one of the most powerful in the galaxy at the time. It had been torn apart. The attack pattern was not random. It was surgical, precise, like a predator that had studied its prey and struck with lethal efficiency. The bird-like alien trembled. How? How did the war end? The historian's face darkened. He pressed a button, and the last entry of the forbidden records appeared. A single sentence. Humanity won. Silence. The blue-skinned alien shook his head in disbelief. No, that can't be right. If they won, where did they go? Why didn't they expand? The historian sighed. Because they disappeared. After the war, Earth became silent. Their ships vanished from the stars. The council feared what they might become, so they erased all records. They made sure no one would ever remember them. The Chancellor spoke, his voice heavy. But now, they are back. The reptilian general clenched his claws. This time, we must not ignore them. The bird-like alien swallowed hard. And what if they remember? The room grew cold. The question lingered, unspoken but understood. If humans remembered what was done to them, would they seek revenge? The Chancellor turned off the hologram. We must act before they make contact. The Council had erased history, but history had not forgotten them. And now, the future belonged to humanity once more. The fear of human evolution. The room remained cold, even as the hologram shut off. No one spoke. The Galactic Council members sat in silent dread, their minds racing through the possibilities. The Supreme Chancellor took a deep breath, then turned to the intelligence officer. How much have they advanced? The officer, a pale, lanky alien with 4 gleaming eyes, swallowed hard. He tapped on his control panel, and a new hologram appeared. This time, it showed human warships. They were sleek, dark, and nothing like the old, outdated vessels from the last contact war. These ships were predators, silent, efficient, and deadly. The intelligence officer's voice was quiet. This is a human destroyer. A heavy silence filled the chamber. Impossible, the reptilian general muttered. They were behind us. How could they have built something like this? The officer's face was pale. We do not know, but their technology has improved at a terrifying speed. The hologram zoomed in. The human ship was absorbing energy from a nearby star, using it to power its systems. They have developed solar energy absorption on a level beyond our own. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Energy absorption was a technology even the most advanced civilizations struggled with. The officer switched to another image. A human station, fully automated, floating between the stars, running on unknown energy sources. The bird-like alien clutched the edges of the table. They are expanding. The officer nodded. Rapidly. We have detected at least 3 human colonies outside their home system. The reptilian general slammed his fist against the table. This is a threat. If they continue at this speed, they will outgrow us in a matter of decades. A younger alien, with deep purple skin, hesitated. But what if they are peaceful? What if they don't want war? The Chancellor turned towards him, his golden eyes hard. And what if they do? The young alien fell silent. The Supreme Chancellor stepped forward and looked around the room. We all know what humans are capable of. We saw it in the last contact war. The historian nodded grimly. They adapt. They learn. And they never stop. The Chancellor's voice darkened. We were lucky last time. We do not know how strong they are now. But one thing is clear. He turned back to the hologram, where the human warships hovered in space, silent and ominous. If we make a mistake, the galaxy will burn. The room fell into a chilling silence. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was afraid. Not of war, not of rebellion. They were afraid of what humanity had become, the unstoppable growth of humanity. The Supreme Chancellor's words echoed through the chamber, leaving a cold, heavy silence in their wake. The Galactic Council had faced many threats before. Wars, rebellions, planetary collapses, but nothing compared to this. Humanity was back, and they had changed. The intelligence officer hesitated before tapping his control panel. The hologram shifted once more, revealing data streams filled with intercepted human transmissions. We have been monitoring their progress, he said cautiously. And what we found is alarming. The data displayed rapid technological advancements, city-sized space stations, and resource harvesting operations on an unprecedented scale. The historian's voice trembled. They are growing faster than any known species in history. The hologram changed again, this time showing a timeline of human progress. 300 years ago, primitive space travel, slow technological advancement. 250 years ago, the last contact war. 200 years ago, mysterious disappearance from the galactic stage. 150 years ago, silent expansion into deep space. 100 years ago, development of unknown energy sources. 50 years ago, first signs of military resurgence. Present day, advanced warships, colonization beyond their system, energy absorption technology. The reptilian general's claws tapped nervously against the table. They disappeared for centuries, only to return stronger than before. The bird-like alien whispered in disbelief. How is this possible? The intelligence officer took a deep breath. We believe. They learned from their mistakes. He gestured toward another image, a human battleship. Unlike other species' warships, which focused on raw firepower or overwhelming numbers, the human design was different. The ship's sleek, sharp edges, its dark armor, and its heat-resistant plating suggested stealth and endurance. The officer's voice was grim. They no longer fight wars with brute strength. They fight with strategy. The screen flickered again, displaying an intercepted human transmission. It was grainy and distorted, but one phrase stood out clearly. We are ready. A shiver ran through the council chamber. Ready for what? The Supreme Chancellor turned toward the military commander. Do we know their intentions? The officer hesitated. No, that is what makes them dangerous. The reptilian general growled. We cannot wait for them to make the first move. A blue-skinned alien, usually calm and composed, looked genuinely unsettled. If we attack first, we risk everything. But if we wait, we may already be too late. The Chancellor's golden eyes darkened. We need to make a decision. The council chamber was filled with the weight of an impossible choice. Do they try to stop humanity now? Or do they watch and wait, knowing that one day humanity might come for them? The decision would change the fate of the galaxy forever. A dangerous debate. The council chamber was filled with tension so thick it was almost suffocating. The Supreme Chancellor had spoken the words everyone feared. We need to make a decision. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, all at once, the chamber erupted into chaos. We must attack first, the reptilian general roared, slamming his clawed fist on the table. If we wait, they will strike before we can react. No, countered a deep-voiced alien with dark, ridged skin. Attacking them would be suicide. Look at their ships. Their technology has outpaced ours in ways we cannot understand. The blue-skinned diplomat raised a hand. Perhaps we are overreacting. We have no proof that humanity is hostile. The reptilian general turned to him with an angry glare. No proof. Have you forgotten the last contact war? Do you think they have forgotten? The historian, still pale from the forbidden records, spoke hesitantly. Humans are not like other species. They do not conquer for power or expand mindlessly. They act only when provoked. Then we must ensure they are never provoked, said a frail, bird-like alien. We should remain hidden. Continue avoiding them at all costs. The room filled with overlapping voices, some demanding war, others insisting on secrecy, and a few daring to suggest diplomacy. The chilling realization. The intelligence officer, who had remained silent until now, suddenly stepped forward. His 4 eyes gleamed with unease. There is something else. The room fell silent. The officer tapped his control panel, and a new hologram appeared. It was a human outpost, deep in uncharted space. The outpost was far beyond their expected expansion zones. The historian frowned. That is impossible. That region is on the very edge of the galactic map. The intelligence officer nodded grimly. And yet, they are there. He zoomed in. The human outpost was fully operational. It had defenses, automated drones, and advanced scanning technology. But the most unsettling thing wasn't the outpost itself. It was the symbol carved into its metal walls. A mark of war, a battle insignia. The reptilian general's voice came out as a whisper. They know we are here. A wave of fear rippled through the chamber. The debate turns to fear. The bird-like alien trembled. If they know about us, why have they not made contact? The Chancellor's voice was grim. Because they are watching. The intelligence officer pointed at the screen. We intercepted faint transmissions from this outpost. They mention us, refer to us as observers. The historian's voice was barely above a whisper. They know we exist, and yet they have chosen to remain silent. The blue-skinned diplomat's face turned pale, which means they are studying us. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The young alien with purple skin hesitated before asking the question. Everyone was afraid to say out loud, "What if they are waiting for something?" The silence that followed was deafening. The decision that would shape the galaxy. The Supreme Chancellor stood tall. His golden eyes swept across the chamber. Enough. His voice was final. All voices died down. The Chancellor took a deep breath. We cannot afford to act rashly. If we attack, we risk war. If we hide, we risk falling behind. We must proceed with caution. The reptilian general bared his teeth. And what does that mean? The Chancellor looked back at the human outpost on the hologram. We watch them, just as they are watching us. The room remained tense, but no one could argue. The war had not begun. Not yet. But one thing was certain. Humanity was preparing for something. And the Galactic Council had no idea what it was. The final decision. The council chamber remained silent, every alien leader deep in thought. The weight of their decision pressed down on them like a crushing force. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled over the known universe, guiding civilizations, shaping policies, and deciding the fate of entire species. But now, for the first time in history, they were powerless. Because this time, the enemy was not some warmongering empire. This time, the enemy was humanity. The Supreme Chancellor, his golden eyes unreadable, took a slow step forward. His voice was calm, but there was no mistaking the edge of fear beneath it. We have two choices. The council members leaned in, hanging on his every word. We engage. We strike first, before humanity grows stronger. We erase them before they erase us. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some nodded in agreement. Others hesitated. Or, the Chancellor's voice grew heavier. We erase them in a different way. We erase them from our records, from our maps, from our thoughts. The room fell into stunned silence. The blue-skinned diplomat narrowed his eyes. You mean, pretend they don't exist? The Supreme Chancellor nodded. We make it law. No ship is to approach human territory. No communication is to be sent. No records of their past or their return will be kept. Humanity will remain a ghost. The reptilian general's claws twitched against the table. That is madness. You want us to do nothing. The historian, who had spent his entire life studying the rise and fall of civilizations, spoke with caution. It may be the only way to survive. The bird-like alien, still trembling, fluffed its feathers. But what if they seek us out? What if they do not wish to be ignored? The Supreme Chancellor's expression was grim. Then we must hope they do not see us as a threat. The unspoken truth. The intelligence officer, still standing near the hologram of the human outpost, suddenly spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried a chilling truth. It may already be too late. The council turned to face him. The officer hesitated, then tapped his control panel. A final intercepted transmission appeared on the hologram. It was human language. Translated. Decoded. Only 3 words flashed across the screen. We see you. The chamber fell into absolute silence. The bird-like alien made a faint choking sound. The reptilian general clenched his fists. The historian looked away, as if refusing to believe what he had just read. Humanity already knew. They had known for years. And yet, they had remained silent, watching, growing, preparing. The Supreme Chancellor turned off the hologram. His voice was cold, final. The decision is made. He turned to the council members. his golden eyes sharper than ever. We do nothing. We erase all mention of them. We ensure that no one in the galaxy ever speaks their name again. The reptilian general opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. There was nothing to say. The vote was cast. The law was sealed. Humanity would be ignored, forgotten, avoided at all costs. But deep inside, every alien in the chamber knew one undeniable truth. You can erase something from history, but you cannot erase it from reality. And one day, reality would come knocking. The dread of the future. The council chamber remained eerily silent long after the decision was made. No one dared to speak. No one dared to challenge the final ruling. Erase humanity. Erase the records. Avoid them at all costs. But deep inside, every alien in that room knew it was only a temporary solution. The Supreme Chancellor turned away from the hologram and addressed the council one last time. His golden eyes, filled with unspoken fear, swept across the room. This meeting never happened. These records do not exist. The humans are ghosts. With a wave of his hand, the holograms disappeared. The intelligence officer, the historian, and the military commanders all exchanged uneasy glances. It was done. The council had made its choice. But no one felt safe. Elsewhere in the galaxy, far beyond the council's reach, in the cold abyss of space, a lone human ship floated silently. Its hull was black as the void itself, built with stealth in mind. It bore no markings, no identification. It was designed to observe, to listen, to wait. Inside, a single pilot sat in the dim glow of his control panel, staring at the intercepted council transmission. He played it back again. We do nothing. We erase all mention of them. We ensure that no one in the galaxy ever speaks their name again. The pilot chuckled under his breath. Typical. With a flick of his fingers, he sent the transmission directly to his ship's database. A single file name appeared on the screen. Galactic Council Decision. Full transcript. The pilot leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms behind his head. His ship's AI chirped softly, awaiting further instructions. He tapped his communicator. A voice crackled to life on the other end, calm, authoritative, and unmistakably human. Report. The pilot smirked. They're afraid of us. There was a pause, then a slow chuckle from the other end. Of course they are. The pilot glanced at the star map. The human outpost was marked. So were several other locations, ones the council had no idea existed. Humanity had never truly disappeared. They had only waited, watched, prepared. The voice on the communicator spoke again, this time with quiet amusement. And what is their plan? The pilot let out a breath. They think ignoring us will save them. A moment of silence. Then the voice on the other end responded, low and knowing. It won't. The pilot smiled. The transmission cut off. The ship's engines hummed to life. The black vessel disappeared into the void, leaving no trace behind. Somewhere, light years away, in the heart of human space, a fleet was being assembled. Not for conquest, not for war, not yet, but for the future. Because humanity had learned a long time ago,